everybody? Welcome back to another Purpose Served podcast episode. I'm your host, Daryl Wingfield, and today I have an extremely special guest on this podcast episode. So just to give a brief little introduction to him, I met Mike probably, I want to say back in January, February, earlier this year. The next level event that I had with Reagan, who was also on this podcast, the very first one that she had, Mike was one of the speakers. And he was one of the speakers that I drew motivation from in order to make my speaking segment with talking about starting a podcast and also what motivates me in general. Now, Mike is a personal trainer. He is owner, CEO of his own clothing brand. And he has a never settle movement, which I 100% support. And he's out here. He's hustling, man. There's so many videos that I've seen of him, man, of in the mall, getting a drop, doing what he got to do, but also taking an impact on other people's journeys as well and what they're going through and shedding light on their experiences and what motivates them as well. You know, and another huge thing that I said not too long ago, which is he impacts the youth, man. And he's really for the future. And he also honestly think just like me, you know, so this is a very special guest. I'm not even going live. How you doing, Michael? How's it going, man? Yo, seriously. So before we really get into the meat of everything, the one thing that I did want to ask you is how'd you get into personal training? How did that all start? And yeah, and your core values when it comes to that.
Okay, as far as let me try to. I'm gonna connect the headphones real quick.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We got the headphones. Shout out to my bro Malik.
Shout out to Malik, man.
But yeah, so as far as my so I got started into personal training, you know, because two of my bros, and Malik's one of them, and my other bro Tyler, shout out to them too again, man. But so after sports is kind of similar to your journey, is like there's a point where I'm like, dang, this is over. You know what I mean? And so I was kind of lost in the sauce kind of thing. Like I really didn't know my direction of things, but I was always involved into working out and always being active, you know. So Tyler was telling me, he's like, hey man, send me some workout plans or something to do. You know, I'm trying to get into working out. And so I started doing that with him, you know. And with Malik, he was telling me I need to start using social media and start making my own little fitness account. I'm like, all right, cool. And so then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna call it Blaise Training, you know. And so I started getting into that about two and a half years ago. I think it was 2018 December. Yeah, it was 2018 December, November time I started doing it. And I started building from there. And then slowly but surely people were seeing me working out on social media, doing that type of stuff. And they would start asking me for exercises to do. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll send you some stuff to do, you know, some stuff that I should like, you know. And so I started doing that. But as far as my core values, those kind of align with kind of who I am, but it really kind of built up as far as, are you saying core values as the training and personal training, or as like as a person?
This is the only reason why I'm asking you that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can tell that there's no real division between the two that you just said. And this is the reason why I'm saying this. You are training people, but it's different from other people training. It's not just do these workouts. There's a meaning behind it. It's an underlying meaning. Even if there's not an underlying meaning, there is a message to the whole entire thing. So that's why I asked you what are your core values are, because that reason right there, it's an inspiration, motivational factor behind it, which is to me so important when it comes to people getting physically fit. It's not just telling them you need to work out, you know what I mean? And then just being hard on them. So that's all I was asking from that aspect. What are your core values are? Because I'm pretty sure those same aspects you're taking outside of the realm of personal training as well.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a great observation because that's literally how it is. Because there's really no separation between the two. You know, as far as like, yeah, you got to have business goals and stuff like that. And as time goes, I'm still learning the business of things, you know. And so I invest time into trying to learn that. But as far as like the core values, it's definitely like, yeah, I want to train you physically, but I want your mind to change. You know, I want to challenge you mentally. Like, what are you gonna? And I was just talking to somebody earlier about this. They asked me what's one word you can describe your training as, and I said breakthrough. You know,
Wow.
because I want you to have the mental breakthrough. I want you to when you reach that point to where it's like, damn, I ain't gonna get through the workout. You push through it and you realize, like, dang, I could do it. It was a mind thing. It was a mindset thing. Like I just couldn't see myself doing it. But now that I did it, I know I can do it. That's the mental breakthrough I want you to have, you know? And so those are some of the core values I'd say.
I seen on your website that what you just said is the most important thing. Physically, to do what you have to do, but starting right here first and knowing that it started right here first, you know, and what you just said, it's all about that breakthrough. You get people to get to a point where they go past a point where they thought they couldn't. They really believed that they couldn't. And then you showed them that, no, there's more to you than what you thought you was. And that's very, very, very powerful, you know, because like this is something that we was talking about before this recording even started, is just that how sometimes due to the fact of certain situations that we put ourselves in, it limits us to who we truly are and what we truly are capable of. So what are some of the things that from a personal trainer aspect that you try to push them like mentally to go past this physically demanded thing that you're getting them to do?
And so one thing, excuse me, one thing I try to have them focus on is, depending on who the person is, I have them tell me their goals and stuff like that. And so, you know, the thing is I've noticed is there's people who talk about it and then there's people who do it, you know? And so you kind of get a face-to-face value of that. But after I kind of see who they are, and like when we're working out, kind of see where the limit is, I kind of talk to them about, I kind of wait to kind of get into the motivational factor. I kind of just talk to them. But once they hit that stage, they're like, damn, this shit's challenging. I could tell. It's like, yeah, that's where I kind of talk to them about it. Like, I ask them all the time, how you feeling? You know what I'm saying? How you doing? Like, you know what I'm saying? They're slowly like, oh, I'm good.
And I know you can really see.
Yeah, I can really see, you know, because when you experienced it, like you said, when you experience something, you have the awareness. So due to my experience and my awareness of it, I can see that they're struggling. And so I've been getting better with kind of making sure that I don't push them too far. You know what I mean? Because I tell them all the time, I don't want you getting hurt. Let's live to fight another day. You know what I'm saying? We'll work hard tomorrow, you know? So, but to kind of touch on what kind of how my approach is, it depends on the person because everybody takes the inspiration in different ways. But I kind of wait till they get to that stage and I kind of tell them like, look, you can do it. You know what I'm saying? It's a mental thing. These are the times where you find out most about yourself type of thing, you know? It's like I take them on a little walk, like, okay, let's take a longer break. Let's walk around this loop. Cause there's like, sometimes I do an outdoor workout. There's a loop on the park, like a little sidewalk that goes around like this statue type bell type thing. Where we take a walk around that and we slowly but talking. I tell them to breathe, but I'm telling them like, yeah, there's sometimes where you don't believe you can do anything, but You give yourself a little time, then you get into that mindset. You get into that mode. You can really do it. It's all a mental thing, but you got to start strong. Don't go into it. Don't think, not thinking you can't do it. You know what I'm saying? You can really do it. You know?
You just had me think about something. And this is something that I talked about in the very, very beginning of this podcast journey when shout out to my boy Aqua, one of the first guests that I had on here. But we was talking about the flow state. But this makes me think, well, what you just said, what the ingredients to that would be, would tap it into the flow state. And for me, and I know you know this as well, is where something is challenging, extremely challenging, but you're comfortable in that challenge, with a point where you're not thinking, you're just operating. You're there. So I was going to ask you, how can you explain the flow state to some of the listeners out there, and what that experience is like?
Crazy is to touch on it, like to kind of bring it back to when I first was aware of it, like known about it, you know, like was told about it, was in like school, you know. And I think it was, I'm trying to think of which class this was. I think it was like child development or something like that, whatever the case was. Like you hear about it a lot, but there's like a chart and it talks about the flow state. And so you have to have in order to reach that flow state, you have to have the perfect balance of challenge and comfortability, you know, or something like that it was saying. And so like, and difficulty level. So it's like, in order to reach that flow state, you have to reach a certain point to where it's challenging you enough to where you're just focused on that point in time, you know? And it's just like with, have you ever did a plank and the 1 minute of the plank takes so long?
Oh man. This is about to get sidetracked a little bit. So hold that thought, please.
Okay. Yeah.
But side story, you guys. When I very first got to Spain for my very, very first practice,
yeah,
hell on earth. That's what we started with. We started with doing 1:15 planks, right? On our front side. So I'm sitting there, you already know, my pelvis was touching the ground. I'm shaking. And I was like, bro, this is the first 5 minutes of practice of me being here. Oh, that's not it. And then after that, he was like, all right, time, 45 seconds on your side. And then we're doing 2 rounds of this. So I'm like, bro, I'm not going to make it. I never did planks before. Mind you, I never was even a weight room guy. So to start the very first hour, the very first practice in the weight room, I said, this is about to be hell. What did I get myself into?
Mm-hmm.
But I always say, through that experience of being so uncomfortable, it made me so at ease after that experience, especially when it came to playing basketball and going anywhere. So now I'm at this point where I can go literally anywhere across the country or anywhere that, you know, they call me up to go hoop, and I'm good there, and I feel extremely comfortable. Yeah. But I needed that experience in order to get to that. And I tell people all the time that I hated it when I first got out there. Extremely hated it. So that's like, when you said plank, that's
and that goes along. It's really not even sidetracked, to be honest, because it's like you was so present that time just takes forever, you know?
Word.
It takes forever. And so sometimes is in order to reach that flow state to where now when you go to these places where you're at ease, you know what I'm saying? And you're comfortable in the uncomfortable. That's where you reach I feel like a highest level of flow, you know? And then you're just going. It's just like the time is flying by, but you're so present that time doesn't seem like it exists. And, you know, and that brings it to like what we kind of talked about earlier a little bit too, is a minute of talking and a minute of a plank is a totally different time.
Wow, that's a great example. That's Mike. That's actually a great example.
It's totally different. It feels so different. Like if I'm doing a plank and then I go talk to somebody for 1 minute, the time will go by too fast. But then if you're doing a plank, it takes forever.
That makes
And
me.
because it's crazy, bro.
That makes me even think about like somebody's work shift compared to if they wasn't at work doing whatever they felt like. It's, being at work from that, that 9 to 5, it's just like, when is this lunch break gonna come?
Bro,
I'm in here for hours.
And the lunch break and the lunch break goes so fast. It's insane. It goes so fast, bro. And me and my bro talk about that too. Is like, it's different when you're able to do stuff that you want to based on when you want to do it, rather than having to do stuff based on when somebody else wants you to do it.
Wow.
Like you said, that 8-hour, 9-hour range of time is like, yeah, it can go by fast, but then it's like you get physically drained from the time you're doing it, but then the mental drainage of you not wanting to do it is so much more taxing than you're able to fathom,
You just hit another point for me. God honest truth. So with that being said, with what you just said, that just made me even think about, after that time period is done, how most people struggle with focusing on that thing that they were really intending to do. And sometimes why they even got that job in the first place, and now that job is demanding the most energy compared to why you even got that job. So for example, if you wanted that job to fund a business that you're starting, you work in this job, but now after you've done this job, you don't even have the necessary energy to focus on the business that you got the job to fund. And now you keep going through the time, your business is starting to go all the way backward. Yeah, to the point you're not even thinking about it no more, because it's just like you let those days add up where you wasn't putting the necessary time because of the job and the energy and the mental toll that it's taken.
Man,
and
that's so true, dude. That's so true. That's so true. And it's like there's a level of slavery, right? Because there's different types of slavery, but we got the not popular, well, I guess popular thing of slavery of work labor, as far as like you get paid nothing or little to nothing. But if you really think about it, in every aspect of capitalism, it's literally a mirror of slavery. You have the people at the top, the resources get all the way cycled to the top and then get sprinkled back down. But as far as getting the resources, they mine them from the bottom. They come from the bottom.
Wow.
And it gets all the way to the top, And so that's just the same way as far as businesses is. You got the people at the bottom doing all of the work, getting paid a minimal piece of the pie of what's getting cycled all the way to the top, and then they drop it back down. You see what I'm saying? Because before the cotton got picked from the field, it came from the hands of the slaves. Before the food was farmed and ate and fed to the people that own the plantations and the people around the country, they had to be picked from the field.
Somebody had to do it beforehand.
Yeah, they had to do it beforehand. Who did this? The people at the bottom. The slaves did it, And so everything is a mirror of slavery. And that brings it back to what to what we was talking about is these people is literally a replication of slavery. And when you get back, you're mentally drained. You know what I mean? And you have to have a high level of Harriet Tubman type of mental focus to get through this. You got to have the Frederick Douglass focus to get through. You know what I'm saying? It takes a high level of, what I mean? There's only a few names that really made it to now where we know them. There's millions and millions of people that didn't have that mental endurance to get through it, And so that's how millions of Americans are now.
And that's why, for me, hearing people while they're going through it on their way to the top and not at that necessary point where they made it and now they're connecting the dots backwards. I think that it's important that people see in real time somebody going after it. You know what I'm saying? Because oftentimes when you do hear these stories of these people that do make it in systems like this, which we constantly got to deal with, it almost seems as if it's fake and it's impossible. And I was somebody that suffered from it, from the system that we made with that kind of mentality where the people at the top do whatever they can to take the most without giving away the most. They try to spend the least for their resources. That's how it is. And for me, I adopted that system in the wrong way, where I won't want to say chasing my vices more than my virtues and trying to get the most to feel good rather than trying to see how I can add value to everybody else and treating in the system in such a selfish way. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm trying to do my part and reverse my karma and show people that if you are feeling like you did so much that you can't redeem yourself, or you feel like you don't even have the potential to do what you really want to do, I'm telling you that you're wrong. And you need to go out there and you need to challenge yourself and show yourself that you're wrong. Our brains we're problem-solving creatures. That's what we are here to do. And this is a message that I preach all the time. We're here to solve other people's issues and come up with a solution for them, not come up with more problems on top of the problems.
100%. And bro, it's crazy you say that. And to touch on what you say, to give you your props on challenging yourself to be someone new, you know, because a lot of people don't want to do that. It's like, you got to challenge yourself on to be someone that you wasn't last year and new today. And if you can look at yourself truthfully and look yourself in the mirror today and be like, I'm better than I was yesterday, you already won. You know what I'm saying? You already won, you know? But then to bring it back to what I was going to say, then is, what was I going to say? Dang, I done lost my train of thought. My bad. I'm going to make sure I gave you your props, though, for sure.
No, because I knew this was going to happen a lot. I already told you. These rabbit holes is about to get crazy.
No.
But for me and my personal experience, it seemed like the choices that I was making, it wasn't because of me. It was because of the outside external forces. So I had no control over the situations, which made me feel like my life was out of my control. So the weed I was smoking, the parties I was going to, the girls I was talking to, it seemed like that wasn't my fault. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was the girls' fault. But then once all of those things started crashing down on my head, it started really making me question me and not question, because I was so desperate to find a different approach to life because I was so unhappy. But it seemed like I was the only person around me that was keeping it real about that. You know, so that made me take a step back and do inventory on myself on the pros and cons and what I really wanted to do and what really scared me and what's going to motivate me to keep going. And from going down that path, I kept finding myself in a situation that was extremely scary and uncomfortable. But it felt like, which a term I use all the time, which is a muse, like an inspiration, like a subtle inspiration kept talking to me in my ear. And this is what I told you before this podcast, is that it starts off real quiet, but the more you keep listening to it and acting on what you're listening to, it gets louder and it gets more clarity. And you're one of those people where you're at, you had to listen to that voice. So how do you navigate the moments where you're starting to lull out and lose that motivation because of everything you got going on? Like, how do you handle that? How do you handle that?
And so, man, you just made me think of a few things. See, that always happens, bro. This always happens. But is to touch on most recent time that I was discouraged. I get discouraged every week. You know what I'm saying?
Same.
Every week. You know what I'm saying? You get discouraged every week. There's some days where it's day back to back to back, right? And so, like I told one of my bros to kind of spin it to kind of a little bit what we talked about before too. On Avatar, for those people who watched the last Airbender and stuff like that. But this one on the Legend of Qatar, the new kind of separate season, there's a point in time where there's two energy sources, right? And so one energy source is blue, and it's like the positive energy source, and you got the red one, which is the negative energy source, right? Yeah. And so the more you fed into the blue energy source, the smaller the red one got. And so the more you fed into the red energy source, the smaller the blue one got. And so that's the same thing for negativity and positivity in your life. The more you feed your angels, the more the demons starve, you know? And so the more you feed the demons, the more your angels starve, you know? And so it kind of reminds me what you said is the more, and I'm speaking from personal experience too, the more I went out and partied, the more I hung out with these girls, the more I drank, the more I smoked, is the bigger the red energy source got and the smaller the blue energy source got. And so to answer your question, I just try to feed my blue energy source all the time. You know what I mean? No matter what it is, whatever I'm consuming, it has to be 95, 98% positivity. You want to overflow your life with positivity as much as you can, because it's just like food. It's like whatever you internalize and the stuff that you feed yourself is what your body adapts and eventually becomes. So the more snacks and bullshit you eat, the more you're going to feel like bullshit in the long run.
I got another question to ask you based off of that. And it's a simple one. How good are you from that? From what you just said, how good are you now at saying no?
Oh, man, that's one of my biggest challenges, bro, is saying no. But I'm so good at it now. I'm way better than I was at it. But that's still one of my biggest challenges, being able to say no. Because you feel like you can do and help
everybody.
Everything.
Yeah, word.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm just getting better at saying no. And in the sense of I'm even getting better at not even having to say no, because
everybody know what the vibe is.
Yeah, they know what the vibe is now. A lot of people, they're starting to know, like, I ain't gonna waste this motherfucker's time. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, because I'm not gonna mess with you. You know what I'm saying? I don't have time for it. And you got people who challenge it. It's crazy too. This is another wormhole. Just on a relationship level with certain women, right? There's certain women I feel like, and this goes for men too with women, because I've done it before, because I wasn't in the best place. Is sometimes you challenge yourself to see if you still got it, in the sense of, oh, I wonder if she still like me.
Oh yeah.
Or I could still be with her. You know what I'm saying? And that's been happening to me a lot throughout this whole year. And sometimes I bite it and sometimes I don't. But to bring it back to what we're talking about is I've been doing good, not even letting them absorb my energy.
When it comes to stuff like that, I say this on this podcast, and in the realm of that, I call my side euphoric Daryl. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And that, for me, most importantly, it's about controlling that aspect of myself, because I know, for one, I'm a very impulsive person, and I'm also
me too.
Yeah, so for me, it's all about controlling my impulses, and I'm learning how to direct my energy a certain way. Because the one thing I did realize is certain things about myself is not going to change. It's set in stone. So for me to go out here and keep trying to change it, it's not going to work. So I might as well use it to my benefit. And now it's just about controlling those impulses towards certain things. And I know that I'm also a person that can be impulsive.
Yes.
I mean, obsessive. So through those
Same, bro.
impulses,
Same.
I can get obsessive through them. So I had to really, really be mindful about what I'm getting myself into and how I'm handling those situations instead of just saying like, fuck it, I don't care.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And you made me think, have you heard of the book Think and Grow Rich?
That's one of my favorite books, highly #1 recommended. Read that book, changed my life. Napoleon Hill.
Yes. And so you remember the part where he was talking about sexual transmutation?
Yeah, that's towards the end of the book. But I think that's like step number like 11 or 10.
Yes, exact. And what I was going through at that time is so messing with, to be 100% honest, just messing with a whole bunch of different girls before the pandemic and stuff like that, right? And then I go to the pandemic, and then I'm just diving into books, and I'm finding myself, having solitude, and I'm learning about myself. And I was able to look back on myself like I was a horrible person. I felt like who
Same.
was it? Like, what was wrong with me? Like, I was tripping. Like, I was really tripping. And so to bring it back to the book, it talks about taking that energy and transmuting it in a different way.
Yeah.
That is the most powerful energy, especially as a male, you can have, is that sexual energy. And if you're able to, and I was able to put it, that part really stuck with me. Like, damn, that's powerful. Is this what I'm going through? I was able to absorb and use that energy into my passion and what I was doing. And then things just start to
Open up.
align themselves. Open up, bro. They really started to open up. They started to blossom, like boom. Everything started to make more sense. I was able to do more things with my day. I was able to get stuff done. I was able to make it happen more because I was not wasting that energy, because energy is never destroyed. It's just transferred to a different place.
Yeah, that's it.
And so I was releasing all this negative energy out there. It was transferred to this person, and that shit was cycled back to you when
You least expect it.
You least expect it, bro. And so that's what you kind of made me think of that when you was like talking about like the drinking and all that type of stuff, man.
Oh yeah, and I'll talk about this, and this is something that this is the first time I'm really like opening up about this. You know what I mean? And not like, because I'm a very to myself kind of person, but at the same time, I'm learning with this podcast. It's extremely important to be vulnerable as well, because it's a growth aspect in that. But a lot of those behaviors at the time when I was doing them, it came from a place of me not knowing who I was and where I'm trying to go, and trying to find it in a way where it's comfortable and it feel good.
Yeah.
But when it was all said and done, I always got the same feeling every single time. And it was literally, you just hit home with it straight up. And it was something that I couldn't deny. And it got to the point where I'm doing things like getting tattoos and stuff like that, because it's just like I needed to feel something.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how bad it got until like my life started like slowly like progressing and doing things that I would have never thought about doing. Like, go from a kid that's like not with smoking at all, and now I'm at a point where I'm selling weed. And it's just like, how did I get here? Where did this transition happen? It didn't seem like it happened so fast. But once everything started turning on me, I started realizing that, oh, Daryl, you're an idiot. You sure know how to make some wrong decisions, man. You got really good at it.
That's literally how it feels, bro, when you get to that point. Like, damn, what's going on? But there's a point that to give people like reference and kind of what got me through to reach another level of who I am today, right? There's a point where I was able to, during the pandemic, right before the pandemic, I told myself, I intentionally made the decision. And whatever you're trying to do, you have in what does it say? Energy flows where intention and attention goes. You know what I'm saying? I added the intention as far as IN too. You know what I'm saying? Wherever the eye and attention goes, wherever you're paying attention to and whatever your intention is, it's always going to show itself. Always. Because it's just how it goes, man. It's just how it goes. So I had the intention and I paid attention and had my attention on this pandemic. I'm not going to let myself fall into the rabbit hole of negativity and depression. I'm not letting it happen this time, because I know what happens when you cage an animal. You know what I mean? They go crazy. But if you're able to find that peace within yourself, there is no, you could put an animal anywhere, but if he has peace within, you won't be able to affect him. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man.
So I put the intention on for the people out there is you have to have the intention of, okay, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it. And that's the approach I took towards the pandemic with positivity. And I came out better on the back end. You know what I'm saying?
We literally had a similar experience, because in a way, that was the same thing that happened to me as well. During the pandemic, well, right when it popped off, I was working at Planet Fitness at the front desk. So once the gym shut down, I was also training kids at the YMCA with basketball.
Okay, that's
and
what's up.
I was in the process of just trying to find my way of trying to play professional basketball. It's the Delaware Blue Coats. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but I was just trying to get on that team desperately, trying to find any sort of way, talking to the freaking ticketing managers, to anybody, real desperate. But when everything shut down, I had an existential crisis, because it's just like my whole life up until this point was basketball, and now all of that just got shut down. What am I about to do, and who am I? And that was a weird point, because I had to really do some serious introspection and self-reflection. But coming out of that, I told myself within, I want to say in the month of May of last year, coming out of this, I'm going to reinvent myself, and this is going to be the best version of myself. And for everybody that's listening, I'm actually going to read the letter that I wrote to myself on the next podcast.
Okay, I'm going to check it out then.
I must respect, Mike. I appreciate it. But it was one of those points where I got to the point where I was scared to death of what my future was about to be and where I was at. But I didn't let that stop me, because, people like us are crazy.
That's facts.
You know what I'm saying? And through that, a couple months later go by, I'm starting to press with this basketball again. I ended up playing in Las Vegas last year, North Carolina, and some other place. Right after all of this stuff popped off.
That's what's up, though.
And then after all of that, I ended up starting this brand through a guy named Sean Mills. Shout out to Sean. I always give you a shout out, man. Shout out to Pure Passion Sports as well. But he introduced starting a brand to me through, what would you want to do while playing basketball to set you up outside of your life after basketball? What are other things that you're passionate about? And then after, I didn't really know. I had a general sense, but it wasn't something specific, So he started getting the gears going, getting me thinking in a different way that my perspective never got introduced to before. But through that, I realized, through going back to May, if I didn't develop that mindset right there, being in that dark place, I wouldn't even be doing this podcast, talking to you, and everybody hearing the story that you have and the impact that you're having on other people's lives. And that's through your experience through the pandemic as well. Yeah,
man.
It's like, to me, it's a beautiful, beautiful place to find light when there's nothing but darkness around.
Man,
you created it.
That's so powerful. Yes. And so, like you said earlier, man, I wish y'all could have heard us earlier.
Yeah,
but in order to find in order to find light, you have to go through the darkness. You
That's
have
for real.
to, you have to. And then it reminds me too of that quote from Coach Carter. You know what I'm talking about?
Was it from Timo Cruz?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Our deepest
Yep.
fears is that we're not inadequate.
Yes. That reminds me of that. And people are so afraid to shine sometimes too. You know, you can't be afraid to shine. You can't be afraid. You can't be so comfortable in the darkness that you don't want to let out of it.
Mm.
You can't, because you'll never be able to reach your full potential. So with also being comfortable in that darkness and navigate through the pain, you have to be willing to shine your light also, because you never know who you can impact. You never know.
Back to the book that I'm reading, The Heroes with 1,000 Faces.
Okay.
What you literally just said in a whole nutshell is the hero's journey. You go through hell. You enter the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
You face your deepest fear. You gain your enemies, you gain your allies. But the whole entire point of why you even crossed over to the unknown is to come back to the known with the elixir, which is the light, to show people I was once where you are.
Yeah.
You have to go through there to get this. This is what your mission is. And I'm big on stuff like that, man. Huge.
That's powerful though. That's powerful. And man, this is so crazy, man. There's a lot of stuff. It's like I was just listening to somebody talk about the Matrix too.
One of my favorite trilogies of all time. We talk about stuff with double meanings and deeper meanings like Avatar and stuff like that.
That's
Matrix
on
is up
another
there.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on another level. And then the thing is too is I really didn't realize it until this year, because I watched them growing up and I was like, it's like you watch it, but it's like, okay, it's cool. They floating and shit, like, you know what I'm saying, kicking each other. But that's a deep. You have to break in order to break through the matrix. You have to go through the darkness.
Yeah.
You have to, and it's like the power of the mind is truly, truly underestimated. And it's so even if you understood it, you still wouldn't understand, because there's so much layers to it. It's too complicated to absorb on a human understanding.
For me, since like I bodied the Matrix, but it's just crazy. Neo as a character, he embodies the hero journey that I've been talking about these last like 4 podcasts, where he enters into an unknown from a calling, and it was through Morpheus. And often we all get that, where it's just like, that's too good to be true, man. I don't really want to know that. That's too much. But the one thing that I found special about that movie is that Neo, throughout the whole movie, he was always unsure of himself until a moment came, and that's when he knew what to do. And also, he always asked questions. Throughout the movies, his dialogue was pretty much him asking questions. It's majority questions. And he's the one that's supposed to be the chosen one that knows everything. But he's going through this whole matrix unsure himself.
Man, that's powerful, ain't it?
It's crazy powerful, man.
That's powerful. What was it? Who was this? Who said this? Is it Aristotle or I forgot the names. But anyways, it's like the wisest one is the one that knows he doesn't know everything.
I believe that, man. God honest truth.
That's so true. That's so true.
And that is so true. This is why I believe that if you want to get down to the bottom of anything, even if it's very simple, you come to quickly realize you can't ever get to the bottom of it.
You can't.
It's impossible. You can only know as much as you can handle. But that's why I personally believe that with the experiences that we have a soul mission that's different from everybody else's, due to the fact that we can't live forever to experience everything. So we only meant to experience certain experiences. And I believe that if we concentrate on that constructively, you're gonna live the life that the whole entire universe is living, and you're living your truth.
Yes, you live your truth. There's nothing else. What else? What else is there to achieve? You know,
For real.
it's like what else is there to achieve? And if you live the way you're supposed to, and that reminds me of the deja vu moments you have. Like to bring it back to, because one time there's a moment, bro, that I went across seas, right, and I was there for like 4 months. You probably
Oh
listened to that
man.
on that one thing. I was there
Yeah.
for 4 months in the Middle East, right, and so I just had it's almost like I was born again. You know what I mean? And then it was almost like I was born again, but then also too is like everything was familiar. I just like my energy level was 10 times higher than it ever was before. Just being in that new environment, just being there was just too comfortable, you know? And so like I had a deja vu moment where I was walking somewhere and I just vividly remembered it before. Like I've seen it before. Like I was over here before, you know? It's like, how can I be over here? This is the first time I'm over here.
Yeah, ever.
But I've been here before. And the fast forward to this year sometime, I had a dream, bro. It was like, it was a picture of me in the paper and it said the last Israelite or something like that. And that I still don't, I feel like it has something to do with me being an Israelite beforehand or something. Something happened where I was, you know what I'm saying, over somewhere or something. And it had me thinking like, it started to connect the dots a little bit. I still don't understand why I had this dream or certain, you know what I'm saying?
Listen, man. This is what I'm about to say. People is about to be out there, but it's also extremely interesting and thought provoking. But based off of what you just said, because I believe this, like we get passed down information from generation and generation due to the fact that if you want to put spirituality and science in one little ball,
yeah,
you know, that information got passed down to us so we can manage our survival and keep managing our survival. So it's certain things that probably 5 generations ago, we never met our great grandparents, but what they instilled to the next generation ultimately led to us. That their blood is coursing through our veins. And I had a conversation with my mans about this a couple weeks ago, probably like a month ago, right? So he was a little down on himself about what he was doing, on the right path, doing what he got to do. But I had to give him the confidence to tell him like, and keep it real, you know, because I'm an honest person. If I think something is garbage, it's garbage. You know what I'm saying? But if I like something, like I really like something, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, bro, you good at what you do, and you have previous generation blood is coursing through you. There's a reason why you're here, doing what you're doing. That information that they pass down to you is so you can be the ultimate form of them. And that's why I believe that way, why we're here, and why certain experiences, it gives us that, oh man, I've been here before, because they've been there before. And that's the same thing as when, you know, you talking to a kid and they making certain mistakes that you used to make.
Yeah.
And you find yourself having a conversation with them that your parents once had with you. You know? And that's in a way like in a real practical deja vu right then and there. You know what I mean? And to me, that's how life works. It keeps recycling itself, and it's trying to, God honest truth for me, put itself back together to one absolute thing. But right now, since there's so much division and everything, it's hard for it to do that, you know? And my job, it feels like, to eliminate the barriers between, you know, people, jobs, their race, their gender,
Yeah.
and all of that. Because ultimately, and when it comes to survival and creativity, it don't matter. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's why like it's important for this podcast. I like have people from all walks of life. Your
Yeah.
personal trainer, having artists on here. You know,
Yeah.
shout out to Grace that do mindful practice meditations. But you all have a similar path. Like I have a similar path. Y'all found your passion. Y'all found your purpose and just started taking action towards it. Not really knowing where it was going to go down. You got an idea, but you committed yourself to the lifestyle because you love what you're doing, but not what the results is going to come from it. That's just extra.
100%. And you know, the thing is too is like, it's almost like I know what's going to happen though too. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe it so much. Like I just know it's going to work, you know? And like you said, you had me think of something too is not, Hitler said this one time, right? Here's his quote. He said, geniuses are labeled crazy. And that shit stuck with me. Like, that shit stuck with me. Like you said, you got to be crazy in order to believe in this stuff or to believe that you can get there. And that brings it to my main point is you have to be a visionary. You have to be a visionary and be able to believe when nobody else believes that this is going to work. And when you're able to do that, it gives you so much power and confidence to move forward with the next idea that you come up with. Because I could have never imagined I had it like clothes of my own. Like it gives me pride to see people wear it or get inspired by something that I said or something that I'm doing, you know, because we're all human at the end of the day, but it feels good to feel that like, damn, he's inspired from something I'm doing or she's inspired from something I'm doing when I'm just like you. You know what I mean?
Yo, 100,
and that's powerful.
Man. That's literally why like I chose to start doing this podcast, why I started playing basketball. Like I told you, for me, like my journey started, and everybody on this podcast that's been listening is because of Kobe and his impact on how much he cared about what he was doing. And this is about to be a story of legend because how often I keep saying this, but my 8th grade science teacher, we had a project and I wrote down, it was like a career project, and I wrote down NBA player, and he said, change it. That's not realistic. And I'm looking at him like, how's that not realistic? Exactly. But that was the moment where I decided I want to go to the NBA. From somebody telling me that you can't do it. You know, it didn't kill it, but and crazy enough, it lit a fire under me. And then from here on out, the basketball journey in the beginning just started. It just gave me heartbreak after heartbreak, getting cut, and then made me really feel like I couldn't do this. So it killed my dream by the time I got to high school, to the point where I just only wanted to play college basketball. Then after that, I got to Wilmington, messed my grades up and all of that. I couldn't get a chance to play there.
Yeah.
And now I'm finding myself then playing high school, then playing college, but I knew I was good enough to play in both. But now it's just like, all right, Daryl, don't quit. Find a way. So that's when my breakthrough of what you just like said with your clients and stuff like that, mine was going overseas, because that was something that I did not believe that I can do. And I thought it was impossible. So once I did it, it opened up a whole new realm for me of possibility. Then I just started saying that if I put my mind to something, I really can do it. And then I got crazier from there with it. Now it's just like, all right, on a global scale, I want people to really understand that. I want everybody to be crazy.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You got to, because there's gonna be times nobody believes it, right?
Right.
And so to give you an example too is like, there's this one time where there's a time where I seen somebody downtown like selling the shirts and stuff like that. I'm like, damn. And so fast forward a year forward, I'm like, I'm gonna do this tonight. You know what I'm saying? I always been inspired. I drew inspiration from it, right? And so
And
I
that
get
was
all
your
my
recent
stuff.
post, right?
This was 2 times before that.
Oh, dang. So
This is
I didn't
2 times before
realize.
that. Yeah, this is 2 times before that. And so fast forward to this day. I mean, well, backwards, rewind to this day. As my bro was like, "Hey man, there's some people. It looks like it's gonna be a lot of people downtown, man. You should make it down there. You know, get to it. You get to it." I was like, "You know what? I think you're right." You know what I'm saying? So I'm heat pressing the shirts. I'm doing all this stuff the whole day. I'm doing it, leading up to it. So I get all the shirts done. And mind you, there's a time where I'm like, I don't know if I want to do it. The whole time it's getting closer. I'm just like,
And it kept building
nah.
up like, oh, I
Yeah,
really don't
it
want to
kept
do it.
building up. It kept building up. And literally, bro, I drove down there. I'm driving around. I'm hitting circles. I'm convincing myself
Not to do it.
not to do it. Like the whole time, I'm convincing myself, don't do it. Like you're gonna look stupid. You're gonna look stupid. This is horrible. Like nah, don't do it. I parked my car. I found the parking spot. I'm literally like in my head, like, I'm shaking. I'm thinking. I'm like, oh damn.
It probably was no music playing in your car.
Yeah, no music. Yeah, I'm just chilling. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not gonna do this. I can't do it. He's like, you know what? You're gonna do it. So then I got my box and I went out and did it. And bro, and I tell you, it was successful. It was fucking successful. This shit
dope,
was
man.
legendary, bro. It was crazy. Like I wish I would have able to record it, like just record myself going through that moment. You know what I'm saying? Of being unsure, not knowing. But you have to be insane, you know, because there's times, bro. Every time I do it, never fails. People literally walk past you, bro, like you're not talking to them, like literally.
Wow.
And like literally, they'll walk past you. They don't care. Like people don't. But if I'm able to put it to a point now, I'm like, you know, sometimes it bothers you because it could get real rude. But then it's like they don't understand. They never will. They don't understand, you know. And if when they do understand, it's too late. You know what I'm saying?
And
it's too late.
And that's how I feel about God honest truth, hear and know. That's exactly how I feel. That's why I'm not the type of person at this point. If I hear no, you know, towards I did and I'm trying to push something that I'm trying to create, or just like even having somebody on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, I'm going to get a yeah. That's all it's going to mean. I'm that much closer. And I'm really that type of person, like, to like think like that. And it comes from a point, and I know for you as well, when you are on this path, you're gonna hear no a lot, and it's something that I preach as well, and you're gonna fail. But when you lock in so much and deliberately focus on what you're doing, everything somehow just don't matter.
It don't. Yeah, you're right. It really don't. And it's like all that matters is you're gonna reach your goal. You know?
Yeah.
It's like whether they believe it or not. You know, and so that's one thing too is I've been trying to have a relationship with encouragement and compliments, right?
Yeah.
And so I absorb them and I appreciate them, but I don't take them
and override
too
it.
Much.
Yeah,
override it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. In the sense of because if you live by I think T.I. said this, if you live by the cheers, you're gonna die by the boos.
Mm.
And that stuck with me. It's something simple, but it stuck with me. Because if I'm so focused on what people think as far as cheer me on, what am I going to do when the whole world doesn't believe in what I'm going to do? Everything's against me. You know what I'm saying? What happens when the whole world's against you? Are you still going to believe in you like you do today when everybody else believes in you? And that's the real challenge. It's like, okay, you believe in when everybody else does, but what about when nobody can see it? It seems impossible, you know?
People, that was real. If you guys could take anything from this podcast, like what he just said, like seriously, like that's real. And that comes from a lot with believing in yourself. And that's a cliche thing. But when you really tap in to who you are and what you're capable of, it won't matter. It really, really won't matter. And this is something that I also want you guys to start practicing. If you are, listening to this and these messages are resonating with you, take that vision that you've been thinking about and that really sits with you and focus on it every day and start off with 1 minute. And this is the type of focus that I want you guys to have. You may not understand this at first, but the more you keep doing it, you're going to understand it. You want to focus so hard that you literally can't see what's around you because your imagination and vision is taking you away from where you currently at. And that's possible, people.
It is.
And
it is. And you got to be in tune, though. You have to be.
You have to be.
You got to be in tune. Like your energy got to be on a certain level. You got to be able to attract them ideas. Because if your mind's so blocked by what, like, I hate to be like the stereotypical social media thing, because social media has so many benefits. But just to touch on the negative is if you're not able to block out everything that you see on social media, and you take it as you kind of live by what social media standards are. You live by what your parents have to say all the time. You live by that. You live by what all your friends have to say. If you're in a relationship, you live by what they're saying. You believe in everything they're saying, but you not in touch with what you believe in and what's natural to you. You'll never be able to reach that level of creativity and authenticity. You'll never be able to do that. And because you can't have true creativity without authenticity, And so you're never going to reach that level, So you have to take time to be with you,
I appreciate you saying that. This is why it feels good to have me talk about this for these last 4 or 5 podcasts.
Yeah.
And a whole different perspective is saying the same exact thing. That lets me know that was a gratifying thing right there. You know what I mean? Listen, people, you hear these things and now you're starting to find a common pattern with the insights that these people are providing you with their journeys and their real life experience, and you're doing something absolutely special with everything that you got going on, but you experienced a wide range of things and emotions for you to tap into being creative and authentic. We go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you become original, man. That's the recipe right there.
Man, that's the recipe. Because you are one of one. There's no one else like you. No one. Like, literally, there's no one else like you. You are one of one. So you have a unique perspective on anything that you see. We could be looking at the same wall and see different colors.
Wow.
Wow.
And that's
you really can.
And that's crazy. This is another thing that we was talking about right before this podcast started. We're talking about relative truth versus absolute truth. And it's certain things that's out there that are absolute truth, but our perspectives towards those absolutes makes it a relative truth, and we perceive things all differently because of our experience and the life that we live. And that's why we come to develop certain, behaviors and beliefs that we have. It's high key because of our environment, but you can always change that.
Always. So, man, bro. And you educated me on that too, and I appreciate that because that's so true. It's like, it's going to be relative to whatever your experiences are. And that's 100% true.
And that's why right now, in this point in my life, I would want to say that the number one thing that I'm going out my way to do is broaden my perspective, because it just stretches my relative truth to get closer to more and more of the absolute truth. because I can look at a situation and be like, all right, you see it this way and I see it this way. What is the objective thing here and not the subjective thing? And that's how you come up with solutions instead of just furthering a problem.
Yeah.
Which most people do.
That's facts. Hey, can I use the bathroom real quick?
Oh, yeah, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Hey, you're going to be able to cut this out, ain't you?
Oh, yeah. I can pause it right now.
All right, cool. I'll be right back, bro.
All right, got you.
All right, yep.
All right, man. So we're about to start wrapping up this podcast. So one of the things that I'm going to ask you is, what do you leave with some of the people that you be training for them to keep going when you're not around and you're not watching?
So one thing, this is what I always tell people in the beginning. My main goal is, financially, it's not a good thing to say to people, but my main goal is for you to be able to do this on your own, And so whatever I teach you and whatever I'm telling you now, or whatever the mental drills I give you is, whether it's physical, or whether doing squats this way, doing push-ups this way, or thinking in this certain way, helps you move forward to be able to do this on your own. This is what I'm going to tell you. So it's kind of a combination of whatever sticks with them to move forward. And I hope it does. But, sometimes, most of the time, that's not the case. That's why they're needing a trainer. But I usually try to give them something each and every time that I feel like that helped me to help them to move forward, whether it's one or two things, because you can listen to an hour speech and there'll be 30 seconds of it that stick with you the most, you take along with on your journey, Yeah. And so that's kind of the approach I give them. But to give you a specific answer as far as mentally, I say is find a specific time that you planning on working out and just work out during that time. Because even for me, when my schedule's so everywhere, I have to find different slots and times to work out, but it always works out better when I pick a specific time each day to do the actual workout. Yeah. So whatever you're choosing, whatever time you choose, is have that specific time during the week where you're going to work out, so you can create a consistent stability and structure in your exercise routine, because that's going to help you mentally, but it's going to also help you physically because you're being active at this specific time.
And that's a great takeaway to have for the people that's watching and listening. You putting yourself in a situation where not only you're disciplining yourself, but you're also being consistent and holding yourself accountable to a certain time and place that you're going to be doing a certain action. And one thing that stuck to me about what you just said, is the very first thing that you just said, which for me is going to always have you solidify with what you're doing, is you saying that financially, it's not good, but it's for them ultimately to do that on their own. And this is not even like no type of gas, but that's a world-class trainer, because that's ultimately why you're doing it. So that's such a beautiful thing, man. And that's what most people, you guys should adopt that, man. And especially if you're having trouble with working out and everything. But also, I'm going to put you guys on game, and I'm going to put everything that his social media, his website, YouTube channel, as you guys know, in the description. And I'm going to need you guys to please check it out, man. He got some great stuff from clothes all the way down to content to workouts.
Thank you, brother. That means a lot, man. And like you said, y'all can find me on Instagram at Blaise Training, Blaise, and then training. And then on Facebook, it's Michael Settle, Mikal. and Settle Settle. And then YouTube is Blaise Station, so it's Blaise Station. You know.
All right. Anything else? Oh, drop your website as well, man.
Oh yeah, so my website is btneversettle.store.
All right,
You
there
know what I'm
you
saying?
go.
So y'all check that out, man. Got some good stuff on there too.
And like I said, everybody, I'm putting all of that in the description for you guys. And also, Mike is serving his purpose. Please, people, serve yours, man. I love y'all. Thanks for tuning in every week. If you enjoyed the content, like, share, subscribe, review, download the podcast. And I love you all, man. Special shout out to you, Mike. Like, this is a special episode, man.
Yeah, 100%. And I was gonna say too, make sure y'all comment your favorite part of the episode too, man. Let us know. Let us know, man.
For real, man. And hopefully this is not the last time I have you on the podcast. And I appreciate it, man. For real.
Yeah, we gonna tap back in, bro, because I enjoyed it a lot, you know.
Same here, man. For real, man. This is definitely top five.
And it's not number 2. I'm just
Yo, much respect,
top 2
man.
and it's not number 2.
Yeah, word up. But nah, yet again, man, I thank you. And thanks to every single person that tuned in and watched and listened. I hope you guys was blessed with inspiration and motivation through Mike's journey and the information that he shared with us, man. Thank you. All right.